But a lot of games don't typically do that kind of stuff for open world games. They don't make characters as fluid.
Yeah.
Welcome to Barf City, episode 25. I'm Eric.
I'm Kevin.
Well, it's been 2 weeks since we done an episode. We had some interesting stuff going on.
Yeah. Life happened, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much the best answer. Life.
Yeah,
well,
live.
My internet was out last week. That's why I couldn't do it.
Internet was out. We both had to work a whole. Well, you had to work a whole weekend. I had to work a half a weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trying to be actual adults, but we're trying to get a career started up that we don't have to be actual adults anymore.
All right, and we become like those. I don't know. The type of adults that don't have to work, yeah, or at least not have to do real work. Anyway.
Yeah, right. So a buddy of mine asked me recently about he's like, do Siths truly live with the idea that everything is 100% what it is? Like, what does a Sith only deals in absolutes really mean? I'm like, well, I'm not 100%. I'm not a Sith, so I don't deal in absolutes. Because honestly, I really don't know.
Yeah,
but I had to make a joke when I answered it.
Yeah, I mean, the only time I had ever heard that phrase at all was when Obi-Wan said that. Now, it may be mentioned in some of the books that I'm not aware of, but that's the only time I've ever heard anyone ever say that about a Sith, saying they only do absolutes. So,
yeah. So, like, I wonder if he was meaning like, because this, they were basically telling them, you don't know if you will truly win. Only you think you know.
Yeah, it could be if you put it into context. Yeah,
and that probably has something.
And that could have been what he was referring to. He may not have meant like in general. He may have meant just in that specific situation. That would be something a Sith would say. So,
yeah.
Well, did you have a exciting weekend so far?
Oh, not really. I mean, I just kind of did with I almost fell through my floor today. I guess that's exciting.
Your forehead?
My floor.
Oh, I thought you said you almost fell on your forehead. I'm like, in what way were you falling?
Yeah, well, if like you're almost fall on your forehead, like it could be you just tripped and you're like, oh, fuck, I'm going to die. You're just straight forward going down.
Well, I can understand if you said, "Oh, I fell and I hit my forehead." Now that would make sense. But like, when you say you almost fell on your forehead, it just sounds funny. But no, you almost fell on the floor. Gotcha. Yeah.
So in all our videos, we've had 3 comments. One was my wife just decided to be cheeky.
Yeah, that comment was still great. Yeah.
And the other one was like, one dude was like, he spaced out every letter. First he done a peace sign, then PROMOSM.
Yeah.
Like, huh? I know him. We're both older in the scheme of most people on the internet a lot of times with wording, but like,
with the exception of maybe Facebook.
Yeah. But so, to any audience listeners, for this old man, almost mid-aged man, whatever you want to say, if you're using a new age term, just to be safe, put the definition beside it for me in quotation marks, or whatever you're supposed to be.
Oh yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've been reading like through the comments, like particularly on Instagram, of just some reel or whatever, and like people will say some phrase and I'm like, what are they talking about? I have to like Google it to figure out what in the world they're talking about. I have to go to I think it's the urbandictionary.com and they'll tell you like what it means.
Yeah, like I expected it to eventually happen to have to do that. But like I wasn't expecting to have to do it by the time I was in my 30s.
Yeah, it kind of hit me like a ton of bricks. Probably just a few years ago, really not that long ago. It's just like I knew what a lot of the stuff meant and all the phrases and stuff, and then just all of a sudden it's just like I kind of got kicked out of the party and didn't even realize I was kicked out. And I'm like, wait a second, what's going on here? Yeah,
because like new age terms came about this time so freaking quick.
Yeah. It helps. It doesn't help that because of the internet now, things move so much faster. So terms change way faster now. So that could be why.
Okay, so another funny thing is the very first comment we ever had was on our very first video 4 months ago. Dang, it's been 4 months. It was promo space SM smiley face with the stars.
When I first read that one, I thought that was maybe a scam text, but it didn't look like they actually linked to anything or whatever. And I was like, I don't know. So
yeah, and on episode 22 is the one my wife commented on. I think it's episode. No, which one was it? Yeah, episode 19, which is Netflix's trash. ... Kinda. On that video, somebody put the peace sign and then promo SM spaced out.
Yeah.
So, I might just need to type in promo SM just to see. Apparently, people's asked. Short for Promation Social Media.
Promation
has been operating as a paid social media marketing company since 2021. Huh. I might have to. Comment promo SM on a YouTube video likely means promote so much or self-promotion. This suggests that the person who left the comment is trying to promote their own comment channel or product. This type of comment is often considered spammy and is disregarded.
See, that's what I thought, but it didn't look like those comments actually linked to anything. So I was like,
or they were just meaning we were promoting,
or they were saying that about us. Yeah.
Well, because one of them was on the Netflix one, so technically we were promoting Netflix.
Yeah, well, I mean, indirectly, yeah. So, but not that Netflix needs our promotion. I mean, they're doing fine. Dude, I think.
Hell, they got the rights to stream Godzilla -1 and an English dub for all you who haven't get to watch an English dub. It's on Netflix in English dub promo. Just kidding. Promo SM. But yeah, a lot of these things don't need help. We just talk about what we talk about, what we find interesting. I guess that's how we work.
Yeah. Yes, that was not my goal with that episode. I was not trying to promote Netflix. If anything, I was kind of doing the opposite. I was kind of talking people away from it, really. But again, obviously, I don't expect people to listen to me. I mean, people are going to watch whatever they watch. So,
I mean, I don't listen to you, so
yeah. Anywho, yeah.
So how was your weekend?
It's all right. This is actually probably the longest feeling in terms of the way it feels weekend I've had in forever, which has actually been really nice. So, because yesterday felt like Sunday to me. Today feels like Monday. So it's like I'm kind of a day ahead. So when, the next day comes and I'm, it feels like it should, so it makes it feel so much longer. So.
Yeah, this coming up week's going to be a bitch for you then.
Yeah.
Because you're going to hit Thursday and you're like, is it Friday?
Yeah. Which I do that sometimes during the week. I've just never done that on a weekend before, or at least not in a really long time anyway. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, it happens.
yeah,
I had to like keep asking my wife if it last week if it was Thursday
every time.
or Wednesday night on Tuesday night because like I was trying to think about reminding myself to take the trash out.
Yeah.
Our trash runs Thursday morning. And I was like, crap, I gotta gather up everything, gotta get the trash out to the road. She's like, babe, it's just Tuesday. I'm like, are you sure? She's like, yeah. So I look at my phone, I'm like, oh, oh. And I did that twice. Like a few hours later when I went to go lay down to go sleep, my brain kicked in, oh yeah, you gotta deal with the trash before you go to sleep. She's like, babe, we already talked about this. It's Tuesday. I'm like, damn it, yeah, fuck.
So you're messed up on your schedule too. Then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Usually for most people, the weekend always feels like it goes by faster than it should. It's just like before you know it, you're like, geez, where'd the weekend go? And then it's like already time to go back to work. So, but yeah, I'm just it's really dragged on for me. That's kind of like, a lot of people always talk about years too. Like as you get older, they always say that, oh, the years seem like they go by faster which makes sense when you think about it, because the longer you've been alive, essentially, the more 1 year feels like not that much time to you.
Yeah.
And but the funny thing is really ever since I've hit like my late 20s, early 30s, time has just been dragging on. The last 5 years to me feels like 10 to 12 years to me. Like all that stuff that happened to me 5 years ago feels like it happened like 12 years ago.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of the aspect for us
Yeah.
is most of our days, of course, again, we try not to, we always end up talking about work, but we really don't want to, but we end up doing it for some fucking reason.
Well, I don't mind talking about it. So as long as we're not just sitting there complaining about it all the time.
We pay attention to the time so much for our job because we have to document every single thing that comes in at what time and this and that.
Right.
And the dates and the day. So we're hyper focused for 8 hours.
Right.
To do that.
Our job is kind of centered around time and the date. Yeah. We have to constantly keep up with that.
So our brains are probably more trained to focus on days than most people's, because the average person goes to work, they do their 8 hours and it's over quickly because they're working. They don't need to pay attention to time. And by then they realize it's the weekend, and then they go to do something on the weekend, and the weekend's over. Typically, when I used to work at factories and stuff, the only time I noticed like the weekdays start dragging on, is when I knew there was something I was like really about to do that weekend, something I really wanted to do that weekend. So my brain was hyper focused on the weekend. The weekend, it needs to get here.
Right. And it feels like it never gets there. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when it gets there, that thing I was happy to do, I'd start doing it. And the next thing I know, it's Monday morning.
Time to go back to work. Yeah. Yeah. Plants and factories will definitely do that to you. Yeah. Another reason, I guess, if I consider it, like, I don't know if this would apply to you because your shift is busier, but for me, it could be because of the downtime at the job, because a lot of times time will feel like it's going by slower when you're technically killing time more than actually can't wait to get out of here, kind of always thinking like that kind of thing. Like, geez, I can't wait to go home. So it's more like, oh, I'm just, sitting here like waiting on something to happen, basically, is kind of like what my job feels like. I'm always waiting on the next little thing to happen more than like I'm just waiting for the end of the day kind of mentality. So
yeah. And I guess adding the podcast to our thing kind of also makes it a little worse because, well, at least for me, because I'm looking forward to doing the podcast on the weekend and playing this and that. So and I'm always the type of person nowadays to be like, man, I just want to go home. I don't want to be here no more. My brain is always set
I would rather be at home, but it's not like it's a big deal to me because, like, especially on days where it's not super busy. Now, if it's busy, then yeah, I might think more like, yeah, I'd rather just be at home right now.
Yeah.
But if it's not super busy on my shift, which yeah, depending on the day, it sometimes isn't. I'm kind of always just sit there and think, oh, I'd rather be at home. But like, in all honesty, what I'm doing right now, I'd just be doing the same thing at home, except I'd be in a more comfortable seat, I suppose, and I wouldn't have to wear this uniform.
Yeah. So,
But yeah, that could be why.
there's actually something on top of my head, but I just lost it. I was gonna
I'm
say.
sorry.
I hate when that happens.
Happens to me
Oh,
quite often.
so I guess one of my buddies told me earlier the day that I guess the game Divergence or whatever. It's an Ubisoft game, and he was talking about how the head of it is the old head of Call of Duty.
Yeah.
And they were talking about, I guess people have been noticing things with Call of Duty. So games have this system, a lot of games have it, to where, especially when it's matchmaking games, to match you up with people of similar levels, whether it be either kill count, death streak, all that kind of stuff, and their levels.
Yeah.
And it's got that, and that's why if you start losing, all of a sudden you'll start winning because you get more matched with people of your caliber. If after you lose so much, the game automatically starts putting you up with people that have lost the same amounts, I guess. But I guess with Call of Duty now, there's a system they have. I can't remember the term for it. I guess what it does is the devs of it have a live stream or live system where they can actually see what every match make everything going on in a match. So I guess there was talks about some people like were noticing they were killing somebody a lot, and then all of a sudden they weren't able to kill them.
Huh.
Like they were taking way more fire, and then that person was able to kill them, or that person when they killed them spawned pretty much right behind them.
Huh.
And it does it even in the matchmaking, so it led to people to believe that it's the devs are actually fucking people over.
Yeah. Like that's their way of trying to balance the game or something in a really weird way. Yeah.
Yeah, and it does it in rankings. They do it in the actual official ranking tournaments and shit too.
Yeah.
And
like even during like Call of Duty League for the esports.
Yeah. I don't know if it's for the esports, but at least they're
But during that, yeah.
Like they probably could. I don't know if they do. It's something I want to probably end up looking into at some point.
Yeah.
To actually fully talk about it one day on the podcast, because that's actually interesting. If the company itself, the heads of Call of Duty.
Yeah, that's the yeah. Is that for? Did they say if that was more for more recent Call of Duty games, or for that?
Yeah,
was
more recent Call of Duty games. Because even talk about Warzone.
Yeah, Warzone. Yeah.
I'm like, dang, that's kind of wicked in a sense, and kind of assholeish if it is true.
Yeah. Beyond, yeah.
So it makes me happy that I got out of Call of Duty.
I never really was into Call of Duty. The only Call of Duty game I played regularly when I was in high school was, I think it was Modern Warfare 2. Me and my friend, when I was in high school, when I went to his house, we would just kind of play, just one-on-one, basically, a lot. So it was never really something. It was one of those games I just kind of played because just to play with him, kind of thing. It's sort of like when I used to play all those Madden games with my other friend in high school. Like I wasn't really into the Madden games all that much myself, but he liked playing them, so I played with him. So
yeah, I got into college because of a buddy of mine, but
yeah,
I got into it after actually playing it a lot with him. It actually got me into it.
Yeah,
but then once I got out of it, I just stayed out of it.
the Call of Duty series was actually one of the series when I was, especially when I was in high school and like early college years, was the like series that got me actually like turned away, I guess is the best way to put it, from the seventh generation of gaming. People may not know what that is. No, you'd be surprised how many people don't know anything about generations of gaming. So might need to do an episode one time just with me just explaining all the generations. But anyway,
Yeah.
the seventh generation of gaming, Call of Duty was huge. Of course, it's still huge today, but not like it was then. I mean, it was like everywhere. So and that was one of the things that like turned me away from that generation. It wasn't really until after it got into the eighth generation was when I realized actually how good the seventh generation was. And I was like, wow, this
Mm,
actually is a good generation. I just was so overwhelmed by all the Call of Duty ads and everything that I was just like, oh, I hate this generation.
yeah, COD was everywhere. It became such a big thing.
Yeah.
Like Halo became a big thing, but
Yeah. See,
it was not
Halo never bothered me. So
because it also didn't feel like Halo was pushed down your throat as much as COD.
yeah, it was definitely popular and there was a lot of ads for it, but it just not in the same way that COD was. Yeah. So,
And to me, Halo was a better game in general because
yeah. I've only played the first three, admittedly. I've never played any past that one. So,
4 was all right.
yeah.
After 4, it really did go downhill.
Yeah. After four, I think it was when they switched companies because it was
Yeah,
no
they switched
longer.
from Bungie to 343.
Yeah. Because Bungie now, of course, does Destiny, but
Yeah, so Bungie got into it with Xbox,
yeah.
with Microsoft, and they left, and Microsoft managed to keep a hold of Halo
Yeah.
when they took it from Bungie and gave it to 343. And then they made 343 kind of dropped the ball with it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I
it's
can't
hard to
remember.
hold
Was
up.
it at
Yeah.
Halo 4 or Halo 3? Oh, Halo ODST and stuff. Because
Yeah.
Reach and ODST were after 3. Because I can't remember if 4 was the first 343 game or I think 4 was the first 343.
Yeah.
Because after that is Halo
It may
Guardians.
have actually, yeah, switched over at four. Yeah.
It's been so long.
Yeah. Gosh. Yeah.
And then Bungie went and made Destiny with, I think it was Activision they were working for. I can't remember. But they got into a fight with whoever it was they were working for with Bungie, with Destiny. And this time they were able to win and take Destiny with them.
Excuse me.
They were able to take Destiny with them. They got custody of Destiny. They didn't get custody of the first child, but they got custody of the second child.
Yeah.
And they just have kept their own custody of their game title now. So
Okay. Yeah. I just Googled it. Yeah, the ODST was the last one. And when they switched over to Halo 4, it was 343. Yeah.
okay.
So they did 3 and then ODST. So
They did 1, 2. They had
yeah, because there's Combat Evolved and then 2
Yep.
and then did Reach come after 3?
yeah, Reach came after
Yeah,
3
I
if I
was
remember
thinking.
correctly.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. Reach and ODST were my favorites.
Oh, really? Yeah. I don't think I never played ODST and I've never played Reach. Like I said, I played up to 3 and that was kind of the end for me. I'm not sure what happened. I think I just got interested in other games at the time. It wasn't really like, oh, I don't care about Halo anymore. It was just like I got distracted by other games, so I just never did work my way back around to the Halo series.
Yeah.
So
Well, Reach was really great. Also, at the very last mission, like you're supposed to die, you're not supposed to successfully do it, but you're in an open field, which is an army of Covenant soldiers coming after you by yourself.
yeah.
And me and my buddies used to take it as a challenge to see how long we could keep fighting in that open field before we actually died.
Oh wow.
It's pretty fun. And then ODST was the first time You play as a non-Spartan in that style, like because ODST is orbital dropship troopers. So you drop in as I think it's rookie 6,
Yeah.
and you go through and you're wearing like similar Spartan armor. You got like fingerless gloves and shit. And you're just going through trying to find your team. Now you end up working alongside a Spartan. I can't remember her name, but you're not a Spartan the entire time, which is kind of fun considering the whole thing is do all the other Halos is just either Master Chief or the random Spartans from Reach.
Right.
So getting to play as a non-Spartan for the first time was really great.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. I don't know if I ever get around to playing it, but I might try it if the opportunity ever comes. I have years ago. I really got on this kick where I was like playing older video games like from my teen years that I never actually got around to playing at that age that I wanted to play, and I just never got around to it because I started playing like the Devil May Cry series. Never got around to it when I was a teenager, and I went back and played it, and I went back and replayed some of the games that I did play when I was a kid, and I kind of got distracted, I guess. That happens to me quite often, but I think it kind of sort of changed on me when I bought the 360, because then I started playing a bit more like semi-recent games more and more, and particularly once I started playing the Elder Scrolls series, I think was when I mostly got distracted, because once I started getting into those games, it was just kind of like my whole life became about Elder Scrolls, gaming life anyway. And it's just like I just couldn't seem to get off of it. And now every time I play an open world game, it's like my mind tries so hard to compare it to Elder Scrolls, and I try not to do that. And I'm like, Kevin, not every game has to be like Elder Scrolls. And I'm like, I know, but if it doesn't play like Elder Scrolls, it's like I feel like I'm not enjoying it as well. I'm like, what is? I'm like, geez. There's sometimes I'm like, I almost regret ever playing that series because it's like, kind of ruined other open world games for me. So.
Like I'll compare like other fantasy games in that style, like medieval fantasy, to it. But as far as like, I wouldn't compare, even though they're made by the same company, I wouldn't compare the Fallout to Elder Scrolls.
Right.
They're completely different games, game worlds. It's just like I wouldn't compare. I
actually played Fallout before Elder Scrolls. So, well, Fallout 3 and New Vegas anyway.
Yeah.
I played Fallout 4, I think, after I played Elder Scrolls, yeah.
Yeah. There's not very many games that don't in the MMORPG style or the open world style that is not like medieval fantasy anymore, it seems like.
Yeah, that is very common, yeah, when it comes to RPGs, open world RPGs. Yeah, they really embrace that style for sure. So while we're on the subject of RPGs, medieval style themed, I guess, I finally did finish my game. It is released. The whole time I was developing it, I went back and forth on how I wanted to release the game. I was like, did I want to charge money for it? Did I want to just, I mean, it is my first game after all, so I was like, I might just release it for free. I'm not sure, because I'm not sure if it would be really worth anything. Admittedly, because I'm still, I've learned so much, making that game. Even when I was finishing up the game, I would go back and look at some of the early stages of things I made in the early days, and I'm like, oh man, I could have done this so much better after everything I've learned. And and so I finally decided I did want to just release it for free on itch.io. I just went ahead and released it on there. There's a pretty good indie game, community on there. So
itchy.io.
Yeah, and so I just did release it on there. And so people can, obviously it's free, but people can donate if they want to. And I'm hoping if I make enough money, either through the game or just as time goes on, I might go ahead and release it on Steam as well. But for now, it'll probably just hang out on there for a little while. But I am very interested to hear hopefully, if anybody plays it, what people say about it. So, particularly strangers, because I feel like they might offer the best, most unbiased advice. So, if they have anything to say about it, I'm like, if
Well, if I play it, I'm completely unbiased.
yeah, I have to warn anybody who plays it and they want to leave a comment about something they don't like about the game, like just it is my first game, so please, take it easy on me. So if you have some criticism to say, I do welcome criticism, but just don't go overboard. Don't be mean about it,
Dude, I want to leave the meanest comment you'll ever see on there.
Well, your comment I won't take seriously. So
damn.
Actually, I don't know what your account is on there, so
exactly. So you don't even know it's me.
I might just, if I see any overly mean comments, I'm going to automatically just assume they're you. So
maybe have like 10 different accounts.
I'm going to reply and be like, Eric, is this you?
Make like 20 different accounts and just comment bad things, so you don't know which one's actually me.
This game was a worthless piece of crap.
Like various different degrees of hatred.
You should pay me money for me having to play it. Waste my time. Jeez.
So you'll be like, which one's actually Eric?
I'll just assume they're all you.
Nah, I don't download games from there very often.
Yeah. I used to years ago, especially when I first started working on this game. So the game, I'll put a link to it in the show notes. But if anybody's at all interested, but the game is called Crate, and when I first started working on it, I did kind of get more involved, I guess, in the indie community, particularly because I made it with RPG Maker, and especially other games made with RPG Maker, and started playing a few of them. And admittedly, though, playing some of especially the games that were people that were also in the same boat as me, where it was basically their very first game, it was clear that they didn't have any experience with game development and stuff like that. And playing those games made me feel better about my game, because I was just like, wow, I thought my game was kind of mediocre. I'm like, these games are really bad. So not all of them, just some of them. So, but then there were some, but you could tell these were other people that this wasn't their first, game. They had probably went through a bunch of, games that they probably never released, or whatever, practice games, I guess you could call them. And when they finally released this game, you could tell they had already, they've been around the block a few times with this engine, with game development and stuff like that. So you could tell. So, but yeah, so I've already started working on my next game. My next game initially was going to be a sequel to Crate. It was just I was sort of gonna do the Elder Scrolls thing, where every sequel would be in a slightly different, few years later, maybe way years later, whatever, taking place in a different area. Typically,
you said Crate.
Crate, yeah.
Crate.
Krayt.
Krayt.
Yeah. Spelled just like Darth Crate. That's where I got the name from. And but yeah, so I was going to do a sequel. I was going to call it Kingstone, and it was going to take place in a different area. This game, I was going to go way above and beyond. I was basically going to make Crate 2.0, essentially was my plan. I was going to take everything that I should have did with Crate and improve upon it and actually do those things. And that was going to be the sequel. So it was basically going to be once the sequel came out, it was going to be yeah, no one's going to want to play this game, because this game's going to be way better. And but I came up with an idea for a different game that actually will take place in modern day times. And that will also be an RPG, but it will have life simulation elements sprinkled into it, and I'm really excited for it. It's so I'm actually gonna make it next instead, and then I'll work on a sequel to Crate. So this next game I'm working on will not be a sequel to Crate. It will be its own game. It's revolves. I won't say too much because it's still like in way early development. It's probably going to be years before it finally comes out. But it revolves around three characters that were all three based off me and my personality, basically. And actually, originally this was going to be a book. I was going to write a book about these three characters and how they meet and how they become friends and stuff. And but I kept thinking every time I was working on this book that I was like, I really wish there was some way I could make a video game out of this story. I was like, I think it would be a lot of fun to make a video game instead. But I was like, I don't really know how I would do it without making one of those games that essentially you're just kind of playing through a story, literally, where it's almost like a glorified visual novel, I guess you could call them. And I didn't really want to do that. So I was like, if there was some way I could figure out a way to make it like an actual game, then I would do it. But I just can't really think of one. But then I think it was about 3 weeks ago, something like that, when I was just wrapping things up with Crate, I thought of an idea. It just kind of dropped into my head. And I was like, now that would be a good idea that I could do. So that's what I'm going to actually make a game out of it. So I'm pretty excited for it. So, but like I said, it's gonna be. Right now, I'm working on all the pixel art. I have to get all the pixel art formulated. So it's the first several months. I'm most likely not even really going to be actually making the game. I'm just going to be setting up the artwork for all the game. So, but yeah, that's. But yeah, like I said, I got off on that one. But I just wanted to let people know that I will have other games on the way, but it'll be a while. But if anyone's interested, yeah, you can check out Crate. And like I said, it might be just a game you play for a couple hours or whatever and be like, oh, that was a cool experience or whatever. And if you have anything to say, you might leave a comment. So, and, but yeah, there it is. It's out there. So, but yeah. Are you looking at the game or something? Is that why you're so quiet?
Yeah, I was trying to look up the game.
Yeah. I think
yeah.
once I think it took me a while to freaking figure out how to. Anyway, I won't get into all that, but I think it's one of those things. Like once I like packaged my game and got it ready to release, I did another like rough playthrough of parts of it, not all of it, because it takes a while to get to the end. But I played bits and pieces of it. And there's something about once you finally admit to yourself that you're done with the game, you suddenly my critical eye like got like way more extreme with it. And I think this is what ultimately led to me just doing the decision of just releasing it for free, because I just all I could see was just some general like game that had probably been attempted or even released like many times over. So like I just kept seeing this game that I was seeing it very differently basically, and I was just looking at it much more critically than one, because I guess when you're always still working on the game, you could always tell yourself like, well, it'll get better as I'm working on it. I kept telling myself I'll keep improving, and there was a lot of ways it did. I improved a lot of things from when I first started, but it's kind of like it almost, once I finally admitted that I was done with the game, it felt more. I understand now what people are talking about when they say that no movie or show, or especially with movies and games, I guess shows could be sort of an exception, but with or a project in general, I guess, is never really finished. It's just simply abandoned. And I never really understood that concept until I finished this game. I was like, now I understand, because it literally just feels like I'm just abandoning this game and releasing it to the public, even though it feels like more work really should go into it. Like I was like, this game really needs to be improved, but it just kind of feels like, well, there it is. Have fun with it. Oh man. But anyway, so maybe even if one person enjoys it and gets some value out of it, I say it was worth the time and trouble. So
right.
Now, don't get me wrong. There are definitely portions of the game I do find really fun when I was playing through it. It's hard for me to play it in the same way that someone else would because I know all behind the scenes stuff because obviously I made it. But there were definitely parts about the game when I would test play it and stuff like that. I was just like, yeah, I like this part of the game. It's really fun. It's very enjoyable. But then there were other parts of the game I just couldn't make up my mind. I was just like, I don't know. Of like, will people find this part fun? I'm not sure. So, so it's one of those things. So. I feel like I'm talking like a million miles a minute. One person at work the other night came in and he was relieving me, and I guess he was in the mood to talk or something because he started talking like a million miles a minute, and he was talking about ranch dressing. And
Wait, what?
yeah, and it was like he came in about 20 minutes I think before it was time for us to clock in and out. And he was going on and on about ranch dressing. I think, like I said, I think he just wanted to talk, and he just wasn't sure what to talk about. I mean, which I was all on board with it. I was fine. I just thought I just found the conversation kind of funny. So I was just like, we just had a 20-minute conversation about ranch dressing.
Wow.
And I think that's kind of what I'm doing right now. Is I'm sitting here just going on and on and on about something because it's like,
I mean, when you're interested in something, you tend to want to share it,
Yeah. I mean, I had a lot of fun making it though. So if anything positive came out of it is I learned a lot and I had a lot of fun. So I think I just need to look at this game as a stepping stone kind of learning game. So it's like it's there for the public to enjoy if they want to, but really at the end of the day, it was really just a learning experience for me. So, but this next game, I actually do have more high hopes where I think legitimately I can actually get a small audience that would actually enjoy this game. That is one problem. It's a good thing I'm not doing this for the money. I mean, it would be great if I could make a job out of this, but that's not why I'm doing it. But and it's probably a good thing because this next game too is it's kind of targeting I don't even know like what audience I would even really be targeting with this next game. So I started thinking about it as I was coming up with ideas for the development stage and stuff like that. I was like, who would be the target audience for this game? I don't know. It's kind of weird actually. The when you think about it, the way the structure and everything is. So because I'm sitting there going, it has simulation elements and a lot of things in there that probably, I mean, not to sound like put, men and women in categories, but like that would probably target more of a female audience, I guess. But at the same time, it's revolved around 3 male characters. So, I mean, but not that, females would necessarily have a problem with that. I mean, most video games, the lead character usually is male, but it's just like, but then there's also elements, that I guess would target more of a guy audience. And then I don't know. I was sitting there going like, I don't even know who this game would be for. But that's why I was like, it's a good thing I'm not in this for the money, because if it was, this game would probably be one of those things. Like if I presented it to if I was part of a video game company and I presented it in a meeting, it would probably get shot down immediately because they'd be like, yeah, we have no way to market this. We don't know who. I don't think we'd make any money off this. I'd be like, yeah, understandable. But since I'm making it on my own, I can do whatever I want. That's the beauty of being your own
right
solo team. The only downside is you got to do all the work. So even some of the parts that you don't enjoy as much. So because definitely there were those parts with Crate. When I was making Crate, there were parts that I absolutely just loved, and then there were parts I was just sitting there going, "Oh God, I got to get through this part." I didn't enjoy it as much. So that experience, and I know I'll go through the same thing with this game. So
yeah, that's how it goes.
Yep.
Anyway,
I'll shut up about it. So.
No, it's
fine. I keep saying that over and over again, and I'm like, yeah, I guess I'm done, and then I start talking again.
Something you're proud of? I mean, you've been working on it for a while.
It's not so much I'm proud of it. I'm honestly, legitimately, I want to know what people think. So if anybody does play it, I'm honestly curious if they. I think it's actually a pretty decent game for my first game. If I'm being totally honest, and I could describe it like a rating, I'd say I think it's pretty decent, especially being my first game. But would other people think the same thing? I don't know. That's what I'm honestly curious about.
Yeah, that's the big question.
Other people may play it and hate it, so I don't. Or they may play it and think more highly of it than I do. I don't know. Or it may be a mix of both. So.
Yeah, and I wanted to make a video game at one point, but I just never did.
Yeah, well, I wanted to make games for a really long time. I just never. It was always something getting in my way. Well, my original plan was I was actually wanting to work for a video game company. Which, looking at now that I know what I know now, I'm glad I actually didn't go that route because I don't think I would have enjoyed that at all. I won't go into the details, but let's just say being a video game developer in a company is not all the glamour it's called up to be. But and then when my early to mid 20s, I wanted to make one on my own, and I just kept, I think it's just I was always way in over my head. That was always one problem. I would, download some kind of game engine and start trying to work on a game and realize that like I don't know what I'm doing. And so, of course I try to watch tutorials and stuff like that, but that only gets you so far. You have to really be dedicated and, and I just don't think I was enough. Another problem I kept bumping into is I just don't think I really had any decent ideas at the time. So I would think of a video game idea and then realize that I don't really want to make that kind of game. It really wasn't until I thought of the idea of making a RPG was really when the passion kicked in, because there are video game genres that I love. Like I love like 3D platformers and I like sandbox games and action adventure games, but I realize that I have no interest in making a game like that. Just because I like playing it doesn't mean I would want to make a game like that, if that makes sense. But with an RPG, not only do I enjoy playing them, but I legitimately enjoy making them. So,
yeah.
It was just always problems. That's pretty much why it took so long. But hey, I still got years of life left in me. I could still make plenty more games to go, depending on how long they take me. I don't know. My dream game, because my dream game, would probably making it on my own. Oh God, it would probably take me if I had to pick a random amount of years I would say more than 10 years probably to make, because my dream game is way overly ambitious. Oh, I mean, I'm talking think of the most ambitious project you could ever think and plus that more, because it's crazy. I don't even know if I'm ever even gonna make it or be able to, if I did start making it, if I'd ever even be able to finish it. I don't know, because I might die before I'm done. But that game is, I'll attempt that later. Right now, I'm making these other games that I want to make. So,
yeah, start small.
Yeah, in Crate, even though it's an open world game, the map isn't exactly that enormous, really. And so it was a good starting point for me for the type of games that I want to make. So, if someone was more interested in making just games in general, then I would say that making a game like Crate probably isn't the best place to start. I would think smaller than that. But for me, since I wanted to make these really huge games with big maps and stuff, I was like, Crate was a great starting point because the map, like I said, it's not really that big. So
yeah.
But
I might have to try it out just to see what you did. I mean, I've seen some things where you were working on it, but
yeah, and I know you saw me over my shoulder work on it a few times, but yeah, it's also fair to say that was different points of development. The game has gone through so many changes since I first started. So
yeah,
because the game, there's 3 different guilds or factions you can join in the main city of Crate, and it was never my intention to make those when I first was working on the game. I was never going to make any factions or anything like that. The only side quest I was going to make was I was going to make some random NPCs have side quests where it would just be like a one and done kind of thing.
Yeah.
Those are pretty common in open world games, and I was also going to make the village because there's like 4 different villages you can explore, and I was going to make some reoccur the village leader or village chief, whatever you want to call them. They would have reoccurring quests for you, and there would be like sort of a mini story that would take place in that village. So that was the only intention on side quests that I would make. Other than that, it would just be the main quest. And then
Yeah.
you could also explore like lots of different dungeons that I made, and that would be your side content. But the more I started, I kept getting more and more ambitious with it. The more I was working on it, I was like, "Oh, I should do this." I remember telling
Mm.
my sister when she was still working at the guard shack. I kept going like, "Well, I made another faction," and she'd be like, "Geez, how many more of those you gonna make?" And then finally, after I made my last one, I messed with her one day, and I was like, "Well, I'm decided to make another guild," and she was like, "Oh." I was like, "I'm just kidding. I didn't make another one." I was like, "My map is not." If my honestly though, if my map would have been bigger than it is, I probably would have made 2 or 3 more different guilds. So
Wow.
I think the only thing that was holding me back from making more of them was the fact that it was starting to feel really crowded in the game, if that makes sense. Like, because as you were going through, it got to the point where I was having to repeat dungeons. I mean, and there's a lot of dungeons in the game. I think there's over 70 dungeons for that map size. That's pretty decent. And not that a lot of the dungeons are exactly enormous or anything. There's a mix of three. There's small dungeons where there are only like 1 or 2 rooms, and then there's medium-sized dungeons where there's multiple rooms but not like a ton of them. And then there's really huge dungeons. Most of the huge dungeons are attached to the main quest, but there's a couple of huge dungeons that are also side quests. And then there's
Okay.
a couple of them that have no side quests at all attached to them. They're literally just there for you to explore if you want to and go in there and collect the loot or whatever.
Mm.
But yeah, making the dungeons is definitely my favorite part. I love creating the dungeons. I had so much fun making those. So I can't even begin to describe how much fun how much fun I had making those. So. Which makes sense because dungeon crawling is my favorite part of any RPG that has like any dungeons in it. That's
Yeah.
usually being in the dungeon is usually my favorite part. I don't know what it is. I just love
Yeah.
dungeon crawling.
Dungeons are fun.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love how like you went full on and actually made a video game,
yeah,
and I'm over here designing and trying to figure out how to this uh tabletop I'm working on
yeah,
because I do have a tabletop that's my original idea that I'm trying to get made and
yeah.
published, and I
How
actually
far
also plan
how far
on
along are you on that one?
with this one I'm taking my time because I want to get it just right because this is going to be the one I sell.
Yeah,
The others ones, of course, I got them where they're playable and I can fix and tweak them, whatever, with players. Those are just my
yeah,
fan made ones.
kind of for fun. Yeah,
Yeah. But this one, it's so I'm also the biggest problem with this I've found with me is like I'm trying to figure out. I keep going back to how like the story's supposed to begin because
yeah,
like I have the premise of how it begins with your character and how the world's explained to you.
yeah,
But I keep like alternating like do I actually want it to actually work from this direction in history? Do I want their history to work this way?
yeah. I
Because
got what
like
you mean. Yeah,
because it's a mech and monster game. There's only like I think 1 or 2 mech tabletop,
hmm,
and I don't really and maybe about the same amount of kaiju tabletops. So I want to make a mech and kaiju tabletop, and I've been like debating on multiple ways to make it. but I had like the base premise down that you're going to be a soldier, and Earth is going to be pretty much fucked up. Humans can only like there's some humans that are going to be trying to live outside of it in their own little tiny camps, but primarily the primary human civilization are living in domes
Yeah.
because the world outside is toxic, and it's our doing that it's toxic.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I have a few little things that we keep going back and forth. One I'm more on right now on how the kaiju's came about, and I that one might be the one I end up going with. About 100% sure on it yet, and rework the beginning. But basically, it starts out your character after you create, of course, you create your character sheet, what kind of mech pilot you're going to be. The whole story gets explained, and you're actually turns out you're in a debriefing for the academy. So basically, the whole when you go into an academy or military school or whatever, they explain the history of the branch you're in, blah blah blah, whatever. But for this,
Yeah.
it explains the history of the world and how the mechs came about, and the school and what's going on with the kaiju's. Kind of your debriefing, and then you start your life as a cadet, training to become a mech pilot. And then you also have to go from there if you can keep surviving, become a mech pilot, do missions and this and that, defend domes from kaiju's. And like the mechs are easy to figure out. It's the kaiju's that have been another problem, figuring out what style to do kaiju's. Because pretty much, if you can think of a kaiju, it's already been done. Like if you think lizard kaiju, well, Godzilla.
Right.
So trying to get all that just done just right. I want to do it to where I can make a, how D&D's got their books and stuff for their games, like a book of monsters. I want to make a book of kaiju's and a book of mechs, and also make a system to how to make full-on custom mechs. And then I also, at the same time, am been tempted to write an actual book within the lore of the world.
Yeah, that would be a cool idea.
So, like, you can make a character that's lived this world, and he could potentially be an NPC in the game or whatever. Kind of double dip with this world.
Yeah.
Because, of course, me, always looking in the future, what could be if I do this, right? Having a book series alongside the game series, the tabletop series, if it gets popular enough and sold enough, if it can either a show or movie or anime, whatever gets made of it, they can either go off the book realm with the main character that I create for it, or just come up with a random character that lives in that world.
Yeah.
And go off what basically how the tabletop works. So I'm kind of really working it and stretching my brain on it.
Yeah. That sounds really interesting. I'm not the biggest expert when it comes to tabletops, so. But yeah.
Yeah. And tabletops are fun. I really like them.
Yeah.
Because to me, like, I love video games, but at least with tabletops, you're less, like in a video game, you're like, oh, if the mechanics allowed me, this would be a cool thing to do. Well, on the tabletop, you can do it. You just hope to God your rolls are good enough. Because, like, there's been moves I've been trying, like, oh, I wish I could pull out that little move in Skyrim, like jumping off this or that, slice down on the enemy and this and that, because theoretically your character could do it, but the game mechanics doesn't allow you.
Right.
because they're very
Yeah,
limited
that
in their
is the
jumping.
problem with RPGs when it comes to video games. Is they can yeah, there's always going to be that wall you kind of bump into when it comes to certain things. So versus a tabletop, I suppose you could make it a lot more adaptable and be like, oh yeah, your character, this is in your character, so yeah, sure, you can do this. Yeah. So,
Yeah, it's like, okay, oh, your character is able to jump that high. Yeah,
yeah.
you can jump onto that, then jump over to that, and then do a cool slice maneuver. And you
Right.
can do, you image it happening, but of course you got to roll the dice and make sure the dice, hopefully the dice will allow you to do that.
Right. Right. There
And
always has to be some kind of control, of course.
yeah,
Yeah.
so as long as the dice work, you can pull off this amazing little, skill set, this little cool thing you're trying to do. And of course, of course, everyone has to image what you're doing, but it's like in games, it's very hard to make,
Yeah.
especially in any multiplayer game. It's kind of hard to really up the ante on maneuverability.
Yeah.
Like some games pull it off. Like I've been playing a new Attack on Titan game on Roblox, and they have really cool mechanics when using the ODM gear and the way you can slide through and do some cool ass maneuvers. Like last night I slid around this building, slid on, and then launched up, hit the hook on another building, slid down, scraped across the building. They actually have a cool mechanic where it actually shows sparks as you're scraping across the building or the ground.
Yeah.
And then launched myself forward and was able to hit the combo right to do a spin
Yeah.
slice. Killed one Titan, but there's two Titans that are side by side but facing the opposite way. So as I killed the one, because to kill the Titan you have to hit him with the nape of the neck.
Yeah.
I slid across in the same maneuver and hit the other one in the eyes and blinded him. And as I did it, my buddy Nightmare launched over a building, came down and sliced him through the neck and killed him.
Oh, geez.
So I did a kill a blind, which stuns him, and he came up and sliced down, and we just landed. So some games have some cool mechanics where you can do shit like that, but it's something like Attack on Titan. It's easy because the whole thing has to be fluid and ODM gear. Like it's kind of like web slinging with Spider-Man. You have to make it more fluid and stuff.
Yeah.
But a lot of games don't typically do that kind of stuff for open world games. They don't make characters as fluid.
Yeah. Have you heard of Taco Bell's new item?
No, what is their new item?
It's a giant Cheez-It.
Wait, what?
They took a giant Cheez-It and they're like making like I think you can buy like a tostada. I think even the new Crunchwrap Supreme has like a big Cheez-It in it. And I was just like, I don't understand how a Cheez-It would go with Tex-Mex, but I guess I could. Maybe I'd have to taste it. I don't know. I get the whole Doritos thing. That makes sense. But a Cheez-It? I don't know. Yeah, but yeah, they essentially, I guess,
Like,
they partner with the Cheez-It company now. I guess Taco Bell just knows who their audience is. So it's like, yeah, they like trash food. Just put Cheez-Its in there.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably try the Cheez-It Crunch Wrap.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of the Crunchwrap Supremes, but I would try the tostada one. I don't know. So
What's in the cheese? They literally just have a giant Cheez-It with all the toppings just on it.
yeah, pretty much.
Wow.
I know I have the Taco Bell app on my phone, and they changed the picture of the app to a giant Cheez-It.
Oh, wow.
I was like, so they are really promoting the crap out of this.
Okay, so you can buy just the Cheez-It.
Yeah.
You can buy the Cheez-It.
You can get it any local grocery store.
and then you could buy the Crunch Wrap.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm interested, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like Burger King doing the Cheeto stuff or the mac and cheese.
Oh God, that I never tasted it, but it just looking at the picture made me want to throw up. I just it looked so gross to me. It made me want to barf.
I'm trying to think, like, what else has done stuff like this? Like, took a everyday like thing you
Yeah,
can just
like
buy at the
something
grocery
like
store.
a poor household would have. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then be
because like
like,
they
yeah,
done mac and cheese and Cheetos at
ew, yeah,
Burger
and
King, I believe.
yeah. I remember
Now,
like over 10 years ago, Taco Bell did that thing where you could get like I think it came with a burrito, a taco, and they give you like a bag of Doritos. It was just like just a straight up bag of chips that came with your meal. I was like, okay,
yeah, Burger King did the mac and Cheetos,
yeah.
whereas the Cheetos basically stuffed macaroni cheese.
I could just imagine what that macaroni would taste like too. It would probably be so mushy, and I
They
would
even
just
had a flaming hot. Well, it's like
yeah,
what they did is they took the Cheetos, basically crushed it up,
yeah,
and then they shoved macaroni and cheese in there, and they cased it in that, and then it's deep fried.
yeah.
So, and they also have the flaming hot, which the flaming hot hurts my eyes, bro. Just the way it looks, the color does not look. It does not look real,
Yeah.
and it kills my eyes. So now we have Taco Bell with Cheez-Its, Burger King with mac and Cheetos, Mister.
The Cheez-It tostada costs like $4, by the way, and
Wow.
and the Cheez-It Crunch Wrap Supreme costs $6. So
I could just make one myself.
that's why I was like, why don't people just go to the store? I guess that involves too much activity for people, though. So they're like, nope, you've already lost me when you said go to the store.
Yeah.
As soon as you said that, they're like, yep, not happening.
Yeah. I mean, unless you do Uber Eats, you gotta go to Taco Bell.
Yeah. But you don't even have to get out of your car, though. You just walk up and say your name. I'm here.
Right.
And then they're like, here's your food. Now get the hell out of here.
Trying to think of any other. I'm not like technically they all do stuff that you can just do at home because anybody can just make their own tacos and burritos and
Yeah, especially at Taco
burgers and
Bell.
stuff.
I mean, at least at some, depending on the fast food restaurant, at least some of the burger places kind of make sense. Because some of those, like, I wouldn't be able to make a burger taste just like a burger at like Burger King at home. But yes, I could make a burger at home. But I could probably make one taste pretty well, kind of similar to McDonald's. Now I wouldn't be able to mimic their fries. So
no, fries would be more difficult unless you had the actual fry machine.
I could do the burger.
The thing is,
fairly easily though.
What they do with the French fries is when they make them, they partially cook them and salt them, and then freeze dry them with the salt.
Yeah,
and then when
they send them to the store and they get fried again. Yeah, so.
They get fried again and then resalted.
Yep.
So theoretically, I could probably make one pretty close.
Yeah, but you'd have to go through all that work to do it. So.
Yeah, it'd be one of those things. If you were already buying something like freeze dry things, because you were making other things freeze dried, maybe try and make your own McDonald's French fries. But I would never go out and buy a freeze dry machine just to make McDonald's French fries.
Yeah, I would not either. There's some of the stuff I see people do, like on their social media, like the cooking social media accounts, and like they're making food for just like themselves, right? Just one person, and they're doing all this work and dirtying up all these dishes. Maybe it's just the old man in me coming out. I don't know, but I'm like, I would never go through all that much trouble just to make something for myself, unless one, I was. But I guess obviously they're really passionate about cooking because that's why they have that account for it. But it's like I would have to either be really passionate about cooking, or I would have to have a lot of free time in order to do that, because
Well, a
like
lot of them do probably.
the average person is not going to want to do that much work to cook a meal for themselves. Now, if you're cooking for a lot of people, that's a little different. But so,
well, here's the thing. Like, I'll watch some of those TikToks, and I'll be like, well, technically, actually, you don't even need this, this, and this, and this thing right here, because you're about to just get rid of it. You're about to use it and not use it for anything else after that.
yeah,
But yet you're using a similar pan for the next thing. You could literally just dump what was in that over, rinse it out with soap and water real quick, and then dump it, and then put the next thing in it.
yeah,
Instead of just dirtying up a shit ton of dishes that you're going to eventually have to wash anyways.
yeah,
But primarily, there's a lot of things that don't need a lot of its own stuff to make these meals.
yeah,
But and you watch the TikToks and they go, oh, yeah, this, 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 and this. I'm like, well, I'm a poor bitch, so I'm just going to use this.
yeah.
He'll do the same thing.
My style of cooking is like the semi homemade style. I take, canned things, packaged things, and then I mix them together. So that's my style of cooking. I would, most of the stuff I have is not. It's not like I'm going to the store and buying all fresh ingredients.
Well, here's the
and making it
kicker.
all myself. That's
Technically,
too much work.
all technicality, most things, most home cooked meals are actually technically just semi home cooked.
Yeah.
Like well, I guess it's technically still all home cooked because you cooked it at home. That's the whole point of it.
Yeah. But
it's not
scratch.
home processed.
It's not right. It's not fully made from scratch. Yeah. So.
Yeah. If someone's like, "Oh, I made this from scratch," did you do the noodles yourself? Did you put that?
If you didn't do all that, then you didn't make it from scratch. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you made it from
because when I make spaghetti, I make my own tomato sauce, but I buy a can of whole tomatoes and make sauce out of that. It's not like I'm buying fresh whole tomatoes and then breaking the tomato. I'm not doing all that. Yeah, that's my semi-homemade process. Yeah,
it's semi from scratch.
I definitely didn't make it from scratch. That's for sure. So,
I did the last bit of the process. I didn't do the first bit.
Right.
Because when I make a homemade burgers, I'm not here, slaughtering a cow and hamburgering it up. And,
yeah.
I mean, I know how to do that.
Right. Your wife's back there peeling potatoes for the fries.
Yeah. I mean, we have made homemade fries a lot ourselves. So
yeah. Well, homemade fries at least aren't that really that hard to do. I could do homemade fries,
but I don't have I don't have a potato garden in my backyard.
Right.
Where she goes out, picks the potatoes.
Yeah.
Brings them in. We're not doing all that. We have the knowledge to do that, but it's kind of one of those things. I'm a firm believer of having to have the knowledge to do stuff like that, because you never know when it come in handy.
Yeah.
But don't actively do it every day.
Right. Unless you're just really passionate about it, or like I said, you're a person that just has a lot of free time. So some people do. So some people just have literally nothing else better to do with their lives. And so
I mean, there are people that everything they eat is stuff they grew in their own home.
Right.
Raised themselves, slaughtered themselves, processed themselves. There are people that do that. But even those people have to get some stuff from other places sometimes.
Yeah.
Typically, the place they get it, they don't get it from a grocery store. A lot of times, on average, they go to the farmer's market.
Right. Because you might go to a Whole Foods store or a farmer's market. Yeah.
Because it's the stuff that's being grown just the way you're growing the rest of your stuff.
Yeah.
So you know what you're getting. But the average person doesn't do that.
No. Yeah. When you're talking about the average person, yeah, you've gone way off base. with that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's just like, yeah.
Since we're talking about like foods and stuff, and I've actually found a way that I can eat green beans that doesn't make me want to puke.
You don't like green beans?
Oh, I love green beans, but I can't eat it because of I know I'm not going to tell that story on here on the podcast because it's actually disgusting.
Oh, okay.
But there was a situation when I was eating green bean casserole that made me upchuck it.
No. Well, with green bean casserole, I don't blame you. I can't stand green bean.
Oh, I love green bean casserole. But it
I
wasn't
like green beans.
casserole.
Yeah.
It was something else. And at that point, I loved green beans. I like green bean casserole. You know, I liked fried. Oh, one of my favorite things is to fry it up a little bit with some grease and some bacon.
Yeah. Yeah, I like fried green beans.
And I couldn't eat none of those because the texture is still similar.
Yeah.
So my brain still activated that reflex.
Yeah.
But I found a style of green beans that I can eat because the texture is different and it tastes completely different and it doesn't activate my gag reflex. Pickled green beans.
Oh, well, I didn't. Never had them.
Yeah. I have a jar in front of me. They're good.
Hmm.
And they're really crisp and crunchy. I like a crunchy. Yeah, I love almost anything pickled.
I wouldn't say I like almost anything pickled, but
Oh. Like growing up, there's a kid in my school, his foster father, he was a foster kid, and his foster dad used to pickle boiled eggs. And he would pickle them, some jars normal, and other jars he would pickle them with how you have regular stuff for your pickles, your vinegar and all that. But you'd also fill it up with jalapenos as well as the eggs. So you had sliced jalapenos, but it would make the pickled boiled eggs, spicy. So it'd be jalapeno pickled boiled eggs. And oh my God, they were fucking delicious.
yeah, I don't like pickled eggs. So. But I also don't like hard boiled eggs either. So
I do. I like eggs.
I like eggs. I just don't like hard boiled eggs because I don't like the white part of the egg as much. So when I make eggs, I try to make sure the yolk kind of overpowers everything, and then it's more enjoyable for me.
Dude, it's very rare to actually see someone that doesn't like that. Most people don't like the yolk.
Oh no, the yolk to me is where all the flavor is.
So it took me a while when it comes to hard boiled eggs to like it.
Yeah.
Because I didn't like what it did to the yolk.
Yeah. Yeah, it does make the yolk kind of powdery.
But I also like the outside of the egg, but primarily I like deviled eggs, the most part of any kind of egg. I love deviled eggs.
Yeah.
Because of course with deviled eggs you get a lot of that yolk eating it taste with the yolk being trimmed up into mustard or a little bit of mayo, all the mixings. And then you throw it on top of the white. And the white just gives you texture. The rest is just the mixture with the yolk.
Yeah.
And that's the case with pickled eggs for me, is it doesn't taste like a regular egg. And the yolk actually is softer and doesn't become a powder.
Yeah.
Because eggs are one of those things that it'll take on almost any flavor.
Yeah.
So if you like pickled stuff and you like the texture of eggs, you'll get the pickliness of the boiled yolk and stuff with the texture of the outside. Because it's actually one of the few things, in my opinion, that the white part itself doesn't actually change its texture; it stays the same texture. Not very much actually keeps its same texture when you pickle it.
Yeah. That's true, I guess. Because most things, when you pickle them, I guess they typically become softer. But yeah,
They come softer with a crunch.
yeah, yeah. They have
Done
take
right.
on a yeah. Because it's like cucumbers are pretty hard, but they're still crispy once they become pickles. But they're definitely softer than like chewing on a cucumber would be. Yeah.
Yeah. I've actually ran into people that didn't know that pickles were just pickled cucumbers.
Yeah, I saw a meme online like about a week ago, and they were like, "Why hasn't no one thought to pickle a cucumber yet?" And I'm like, "What do you think pickles are?"
Uh, that just that makes me like I
It's
understand
literally what
like
all pickled things are named after. Pickles.
no, like if you're a little kid, that's one thing.
Yeah,
Like I didn't know until I was closer to a teenager that that was what it
yeah.
was.
I don't think I ever really thought about it as a kid, really, where pickles actually came from. So
I
I
didn't
think it's just
either.
one day it was like, oh yeah, but I
Well,
don't remember when that moment happened. So
I do because like for me, like I never thought about it. It's like oh, pickles and cucumbers, I like them both, whatever.
right.
And I went over to my great grandma's house one time, and she was pickling cucumbers. I was
Yeah,
like, "What's it? What you doing, Ma?" Because I called her Ma. We
yeah,
just called her Ma.
yeah.
And she's like, "I'm making pickles." I'm like, "Those are cucumbers." She's like, "Yeah, you put cucumbers in the vinegar and all that, and it
Right.
turns into pickles." I'm like, "Oh,
That's where they come from. Yeah.
so that's how they made. No wonder I like them both." And that's where I learned about pickling stuff and what it becomes. I've also noticed I've started liking more sour stuff the older I get, which is weird.
Oh, I've always loved sour stuff, even when I was a kid.
Like I like certain sour stuff,
Yeah.
but like I couldn't eat sauerkraut when I was a kid.
I never had the opportunity, I don't think, to eat sour. If I did, I probably just didn't know what it was and looked at it and went, ooh.
But now as an adult, I somewhat like sauerkraut. It's
Yeah.
not something I would eat like my grandma and them would. We'd have biscuit and gravy. They'd open up the biscuit, pour the gravy on top, and then take a spoonful of sauerkraut chopped on top of it.
I've never heard of that, but that sounds interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
So I would never probably do that.
Yeah.
But
I didn't know people
also,
did that, but yeah.
yeah, at least they did. I don't know if anybody else does it.
Yeah. That may have just been a them thing.
Yeah, it could have been just a dumb
It's
thing.
an us thing. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
But like now, also like I used to not like coleslaw. Now I fucking love coleslaw.
Yeah.
Also figured out coleslaw is really great on fish tacos.
Yeah.
So and chicken tacos.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
haven't
I could
tried it
see
on
it.
regular tacos yet.
I could see it. I'm not sure if it would be as good on beef tacos. So, but yeah, I could see it.
Yeah, I didn't even cause like I started liking coleslaw and I loved it on all my barbecue stuff and this and that. Like I'd put it on my barbecue fries, kind of anything barbecue. I'd put coleslaw in after a while after I started really liking it.
Yeah.
I've even made coleslaw into dip for chips.
Hmm.
Put a little extra things in there and stir it up and made a coleslaw dip. Uh, but I was watching one of my YouTubers I watch, he's a survivalist, and he had made homemade coleslaw with like red radish or whatever. And he put it on his fish tacos. And I was like, huh, babe, next time we make fish tacos, get some coleslaw. I want to try this. Sure enough, it was fucking good.
Yeah. I'm not the biggest fish taco fan, but yeah, I could definitely see him tasting good on fish tacos. Yeah. But
Yeah.
especially chicken tacos. I do like chicken tacos. I make those at home sometimes. So,
Yeah. But
Not from scratch though, because I don't make the tortillas myself.
Right.
I just buy the tortillas at the store and then fry them. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta shift where I'm sitting because my laptop's trying to die. It's funny because it's been on the charger before I even
Need new battery.
unhooked it. Unless somebody was messing with it more recently and I didn't realize it.
It was
Ugh.
me. I was messing with it.
I don't like being in this room. I call it the black hole.
What
It's my
room
wife's
were you in?
crafts room.
Oh crap! Yeah.
Like things go in here a lot. I will never find it again.
Yeah. Is it chaos in there?
It's organized-ish chaos.
Yeah. Sounds like my mom's bedroom. Everything would be organized in a weird way, but it was just everywhere. So when I was a kid, I would just go in there. It's like, there's just so much stuff in here. Jeez. It's like I was convinced if I brought even a bird feather and sat it in there, like the whole room would collapse because there's just so much stuff in.
Yeah. She's got her guitars in here. She got all her art projects, her sewing equipment.
I don't like a lot of clutter. I like open space. So.
I do too.
Yeah. It makes me, the more open space I have, the more comfortable I feel. I just feel comfortable in open space.
We also got a pile of torn clothes in here. Because any like pair of jeans that gets torn, we keep them because she eventually, periodically, will tear them into patches. That way, if a pair gets ripped where it's able to be repaired, she can just patch it with a jean material. The ones that are in here are ones that got torn too big, so they can't be patched. Got glue guns, all kinds of crap. And the thing is, like, I have some stuff in here. Like, I have my Power Ranger helmet in here. I have a bunch of wanted posters from One Piece, which I've been trying to get time to get frames for because I want to frame them and put them up at some point. But that'll probably be when we get another house.
Yeah.
Which we got to get a new house at some point because, like I said earlier, I went to walk back there in front of our washer and dryer back in the dining room because our dining room has the washer and dryer hookups.
Yeah. You almost fell on your forehead.
I took a step and the top layer of the plywood board of the floor cracked in.
Jeez.
Yeah, almost went through the floor. This house is just falling apart. I mean, it's an old house.
Yeah.
Like, it was built before I was even a thought process.
Yeah. Yeah. I've lived in houses old like that before where it was built, when like my mom would have been like not even that old when it was built.
I don't even think my mom was a thought process yet because this house belonged to my great uncle's aunt or great aunt.
Yeah. I don't know how old they are.
So she was the third or fourth grade.
Yeah.
Well, they're in their 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
Because my Aunt Connie, my great Aunt Connie, is my grandmother's older sister. Yeah, so she at least probably is about in her 70s almost now. Her and her husband, Bill. So my mom's in her 50s now. Finally hit 50.
Yeah.
She was very depressed about that one. I love my mom.
My mom was born in 1964, so any house that was built before her would have been like something built in the 50s. It's not too often you come across a house that's still standing that was built in the 50s. So, I mean, of course they are out there, but yeah, it's just not.
I lived in a house that was built in the 1800s. My second cousin, when I moved to Independence, Kansas, which is where I met my wife, I moved into their house. They bought it was a big two-story house, beautiful, had a basement, and it was so old. Like the room I stayed in would have technically been the helper's room
Oh, really?
because it was off the kitchen,
Yeah.
away from all the main stuff. So it would have been where the help would have slept,
Yeah.
which was I thought was ironic considering they had 3 kids. They were in the main bedroom downstairs, all the way on the other side of the house. Their 2 girls and their twin daughters and their son, they slept upstairs in 3 different rooms, and there was a 4th room up there.
Yeah.
Technically, a fourth and a half. One place could have it could have been big enough to either be like a massive walk-in closet or another little small room for something. So instead of having me up there with my cousins, they literally made me stay downstairs and back in the help area, in the room that would have been for the help. And I was up there. They basically moved me in there to have me help repair their house. Basically, I was put in the help quarters and I was the unpaid help. I don't even
You
care if they
became
come
the
across
help.
this
Yeah.
podcast at this point in my life because I don't care about them.
Yeah.
The only one I do care about is their son, the youngest of their kids,
Mhm.
because he was a great kid, and he's becoming a good, great young man.
Yep.
But his mom's, my cousin and her wife, they like. I'm sure it was mostly my cousin because I actually got along with her wife way more than I did my second cousin. Uh, but they basically had me pay to live there while being there to help fix their house. Like I had to pay them rent. Like, but it was y'all's idea. It was my cousin's idea to move me up there for me to live there and be able to help them with the house and stuff. And she was going to get me a job with her,
Right.
but she quit the job that I was expecting to get
Oh, wow.
without telling us until she didn't let me know that until after she had picked me up. Because so she came down from Kansas, came through Arkansas. She was about to head to Florida. So she stayed the night with us because we're the halfway mark before heading on to Florida. And so we had the idea, yeah, I'll go move up to Kansas when she comes back through after her job in 2 weeks. Because her job was she went all over the country marking power lines and this and that for massive construction.
Mm-hmm.
And so the what she told me was going to happen is she was going to go down there, come back in 2 to 3 weeks, come back up, stay a night. Me and her was going to head out that morning after she stayed the night, head up to Kansas, and she was going to take me up to her company because she'd been working there like 6 years at that point, or something like that. She'd been working there for a while, and she was going to get me hired because they needed a new person anyways. And I was going to just be riding with her. So it'd be me and my cousin riding to these job locations, doing the job and stuff. And I was like, oh, cool. Yeah. All I'm finding around my home is nothing but, temp jobs. So this would be cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get to Kansas and I get informed that she's deciding to quit her job. And luckily I was drawing unemployment because I had lost my temporary job assignment.
Yeah.
To anybody who's ever worked in a temp job, make sure you don't get fired and make sure to work till that temp job's ended.
Right.
And as soon as it does, go get your unemployment.
Yeah.
Until you get to the next one. It's the smartest thing to do. Especially if you live in an area like where I'm from, that unless you work like fast food, most of the time you're a temp job, unless you know someone in the company. And so I ended up having to pay. I was making $418 in unemployment. I had to pay $200 of that a week to them. So I was paying them about $800 a month.
$800 a month.
Yeah,
Jeez.
I was paying them about $800 a month.
I wouldn't even pay that much if I was living by myself. Unless
I
I
mean,
lived in a really nice place.
if I lived in
just
that
had
house
high
by
cost of living.
myself and I was renting it, that house itself is worth about $800.
Yeah.
I don't know what they did with my money or what it was all used for, but it was that, and I had to fix the house, which one thing almost got me killed. I went under that. I had to go up into the basement because they had a water pipe leak, and it was the main water pipe. And this water, I'm 6'4", 6'3", 6'4", on a
Yeah.
good day.
What a good day.
Well, because your spine compresses throughout the day.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, and the water was up to my neck. Like I was wading this water,
Yeah.
and like when I got down there, because I don't think they even went down there before, and like there were needles everywhere down there. So whoever lived in this house before was using needles for something. And this entire basement, which was flooded, I'm just sitting there wading through needles that were open, like I didn't have a cap on them or nothing,
Maybe
floating through the
Pinhead was
water.
down
Right?
there.
I'm like, and then the next day, because I got the water, I fixed the pipe. I put some metal weld on it and got that, and I hit the water pump and hooked up to drain the water out of the basement. And I left my boots outside on their porch because they were just drenched. You know, they were soaked through with water. Nasty, gunky water. And the next day they were stolen. Brand new pair of work boots stolen.
Yeah, and those are expensive too.
Yeah, and I was like, this is just icing on the fucking cake.
Yeah.
But there's my
Especially-
life rant over. So this is the whole thing. I only lived there for like 3-4 months.
I was about
like,
to say,
nah.
hopefully you didn't live there too long, especially for $800 a month.
I was like, nah, I'm going back to fuck home. I'm going back to Arkansas.
Yeah.
Fuck Kansas.
Heck, even I would go back to Arkansas in that situation.
I mean,
And people know how I feel about Arkansas.
Yeah, I mean, the only good thing to come out of Arkansas, I mean, not Arkansas, but out of going to Kansas for the most part, is my wife and her family. I have great in-laws, and I have an amazing wife.
Yeah.
So, at least some good came out of it.
Yeah. That's about all
Not
the
good,
time
good.
we got today.
Yep. You know, do the typical thing, you know, like, comment, subscribe on YouTube.
Yeah.
Follow us on Instagram.
Yeah. And of course, all those
Subscribe.
links will be in the show notes.
Yep.
So,
And of course, you know, subscribe or whatever it's called on Spotify. If you like us.
follow, I think it's called.
Follow. Okay.
Yeah.
And as you heard in this episode, I talked a little bit in the comment sections, which were just two weird ones and my wife.
Yeah.
If you comment, and I'll catch you for the next video. We'll probably talk about it. If you have any questions on anything or want us to talk, or if you ever want to know our opinion on a specific topic, ask it in the comments. And I mean, I don't know about Kevin, but I'm more than happy to oblige.
Yeah, I like reading the comments sometimes. I think Eric seems to be more into it though. But yeah.
Well, I mean, I like arguing with people, so I mean,
You like audience interaction, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like it too. I just don't think I'm quite as into it as you are. But that's all right.
With that being said, hope y'all have a good week, and we'll see you next time. Bye.